The Chinese government does not want you to see this. I'm telling you, this is the literal last thing they wanted to get out. This is massive. Really, this is a smoking gun. Because you know what? There's no hiding from this one. The Chinese government got hacked. And what was found confirms some of the worst suspicions we've all had about what's been going on. China is operating concentration camps to carry out a genocide. For years now, China has been accused of state-sponsored genocide in the western part of the country, a province called Xinjiang. Here's a simple rundown of the sinister campaign that the Chinese government has been operating in Xinjiang, just so you can get caught up and better understand what these hacked leaks actually mean. Surprise, 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 guys, I got a sponsor. And what a sponsor it is. This video is brought to you by Extra Wallets. Extra Wallets are just incredible. Have you ever seen a wallet that can do this? You literally push a button and all your cards fan out. No more bulky, huge ass thing in your pocket. It's super uncomfortable to sit on. This wallet has absolutely changed the way I go about my day. And it's actually the only wallet I've ever seen people walk up to me and say, hey, where'd you get that? That's pretty cool. I love my Extra Wallet and I'm super proud that they sponsor my videos because it means that they're standing up for the right thing. Right now, Extra is having a Father's Day sale, which is 20% off site-wide. And if you go to shop.extra.com/Laowinner86, you're gonna get a further discount on top of that. Not only will you be helping the channel out, but you're gonna be able to rock a really cool wallet as well. So please go to shop.extra.com/Laowinner86. You see, China has over 50 minorities in the country. However, they are dominated politically by the Han Chinese, who make up over 90% of the population. Despite having a huge amount of different minorities in China, it does in fact operate as an ethno-state. The Han Chinese people dominate everything. All of the minorities are, by Chinese legal definition, Chinese, but in fact have completely distinct cultural attributes. Languages, food, customs. It has been the Chinese government's goal to make sure that every one of these minorities falls into the fold, speaks Chinese, acts Chinese, and adopts government-approved Chinese identities. This has been particularly hard for them to achieve in places like Tibet or Inner Mongolia, and especially in Xinjiang, where a large portion of the people have nothing to do with China and do not want to become Chinese. Xinjiang is the home to the Uyghur people, who are ethnically distinct from Han Chinese people. They speak a Turkic language and have a wildly different cuisine. They're predominantly Muslim in faith, and they've suffered under the Chinese government repression since their land was appropriated by the Chinese state for a long time. Uyghur people live different lives to Han Chinese people. Their cooking knives have to be registered and engraved with the identities of the owners. Cell phone service is often interrupted and stopped by the government. Schools are forced to teach Chinese Communist Party doctrine. Mosques are demolished. The local language is demonized and replaced with Mandarin Chinese at an official level, and a surveillance state has been unleashed to make sure that the populace is fully under state control. Xinjiang is one of the least free places in the documented world. Under the dictator Xi Jinping, China's leader, the repression ramped up to new levels when it was found that China was using a new tactic, something to be unleashed on the populace, to try and bring everyone into the Chinese fold. Re-education camps and genocide. Xi Jinping was simply too impatient to wait for natural assimilation. You see, it's not just about religion. It's not just the fact that a lot of people here are Muslims. The Chinese government doesn't like Uyghurs because they look, sound, and act differently from what they want. Stories began to come out over 1 million Uyghurs being separated from their families, forced into re-education camps, forced labor allegations, and in some cases, forced sterilization. Some stories even emerged about a government campaign for Han Chinese men to be moved into the households with Uyghur women, while the Uyghur husbands were shipped to the concentration camps. Naturally, people around the world got very upset, and when they found out that a modern-day genocide was being carried out, some stories from escapees began to spread. In response, the Chinese government ran massive and sloppy campaigns to force Uyghurs to say that they were happy, that they hated Mike Pompeo, and that there was no forced labor in Western China.
蓬佩奥，你都没来过新疆，你这个撒谎大王就别再挑拨离间了。
在任期最后一天的蓬佩奥仍然极力诋毁污蔑中国，临走前还给我们新疆扣上了2顶大帽子。
最近在网上看到蓬佩奥对新疆的一些不实指责，我听到特别生气。
最近看新闻，我听到蓬佩奥说新疆的维吾尔族群众被压迫、自由被限制等荒谬言论，我对此表示极度的愤慨和不满。
I dismantled multiple campaigns on my YouTube channel. Other people joined the fight, like Guan Guan, a brave Chinese citizen who snuck around Xinjiang in Western China and filmed the concentration camps himself before fleeing abroad. Fast forward to now, the Xinjiang Police Files. Hackers broke into the fortress behind the Great Firewall of China and got access to 10,000 documents that illustrate how to operate the concentration camps, completely disproving the Chinese government claims that these camps were simply to teach job skills to undereducated Uyghur minorities and were completely voluntary. To quote one of the documents, the security guards at the site of the incident activate the alarm to seek to control trainees who cross the security perimeters without permission through spoken commands. If trainees fail to comply, the armed police officers can fire warning shots. If the trainees refuse to stop and continue to escape, the armed police officers shoot them dead. They even call them trainees, as if this is voluntary. Voluntary work camps don't need snipers to shoot escapees. No one should need to escape. The documents detail the positions of watchtowers, confiscated religious materials, surveillance of people in mosques, how to interrogate people properly, how to spy on people, and how to use different weaponry. Not only this, but the detailed plans of how the camps work. It's all been hacked and leaked and is now publicly available. The blueprint for a genocide in China has been exposed. Amongst the leaked documents were over 2,800 mugshots, complete with detailed explanations of what these people did and why they were detained and forced into these concentration camps. The Chinese government claims that only terrorists are detained, but the documents show that this is a systematic genocide and detention of a people group based on ethnicity. This boy was under 16 when detained. Do you know what his crime was? He was simply a relative of another detainee. In fact, the Chinese government detained an entire family, including young children, forcing them to become state orphans for their parents' crimes. This girl, who was only 12 years old when her crime was committed, was simply in a house where other people were listening to an illegal speech. This boy, whose crime was committed in 2010, you know what his crime was? Studying scriptures when he was 9 years old. This woman was thrown in jail for 15 years. Yes, 15 years for using a VPN, which is a tool that allows you to visit websites blocked by the Chinese government. In fact, many Chinese government apologists, like Olympian Eileen Gu, insist that anyone can just download and use a VPN in China. This is simply not the case. If you're a Uyghur minority from Western China, you will be tried for second-degree terrorism for simply using YouTube, Facebook, or WhatsApp. How about this 72-year-old woman? You know what her crime was? Studying the scriptures in the 1990s. It's easy to get caught up in the thousands of mugshots and photos, each with their own story to tell. But let me focus on just one, to explain to you how this works, because it sounds just like someone I know personally in China. Ablajan Bekri was sent for re-education. You know what that means. This wasn't voluntary. This was the camp. His story mirrors a young man that I met in Inner Mongolia, another highly controlled province of China, home to the Mongolian people, many of which who do not want to be part of China. Let's call him Arban. Arban was a free spirit, a nomad. I met him on my journeys through the grasslands. Arban showed us the traditional ways to cook a goat, Mongolian style, with hot rocks within its own skin. When we were enjoying the meal together, he broke down into tears. He said, "You guys can explore our land on your motorcycles, but we cannot leave. We are meant to be nomads. We are made to explore, but we live in a sensitive area controlled by the Chinese government, and they do not allow us to leave. Our household registration keeps us here, stuck in one place, and the government tells us that we are not allowed to move, or we are arrested. The Han Chinese people around us can go wherever they want, but we Mongolians are trapped. I am trapped in this life, and I just want to be free, like you guys." I think about Arban's story often. I lost contact with Arban, probably for the best, because of the material I cover could get him in trouble, but Ablajan here, the Uyghur that was detained, he was detained for this very crime, suspected of an illegal departure. The Uyghurs are not allowed to move freely, not within China or abroad, especially if they come from a sensitive area within Xinjiang. The Chinese government claims that they're just like any other Chinese citizen, yet it is now proven that they are detained in concentration camps simply for trying to move around. This is damning. This is the proof. It's been nearly impossible to get any information out of Xinjiang because it's a complete dystopian hellscape on Earth. A real-life open prison, a surveillance state that supersedes North Korea in many ways. These documents and photos show us what is happening at the hands of the Chinese government and shows us some of the faces of the people, the human beings that are being brainwashed, dehumanized, removed from their homes, thrown into camps, and systematically having their freedom and identity wiped off the face of the earth, all for being a different ethnicity. How is China responding to this damning hack? Well, I was invited to an exclusive press interview with the expert on Uyghur genocide, Dr. Adrian Zenz. I asked Dr. Zenz about what China's official response has been and what he thinks they will do unofficially.
The official response has been, this is another attempt to smear China by anti-China forces. And Xinjiang is a peaceful place where people live happily in harmony and there's good economic development. They never respond to any specific allegation at all. They're probably gonna really, again, further tighten up IT security in Xinjiang, any information security. They're gonna make it very tense, no leaks, no hacks. Xinjiang drifts off the radar when there's no new information. That's how it works with the media. And they will just continue put out their counter propaganda and present happy Uyghurs happy dancing Uyghurs testifying about how good everything is. It's going to be even easier for them to pretend that everything is normal.
I highly recommend everyone look at the documents themselves on the Xinjiang Police Leaks website and make your representatives, your congressmen, your political officials know about this. Let the world know that there is a genocide happening in China right now and that the Chinese government is the one doing it. After that, let's see who is still willing to invest in and deal with China after all of this is known. I appreciate every single one of you, especially the people that have subscribed to the channel. And if you have not already, please make sure that you are subscribed. It really helps me out. And also the people that support me on patreon.com/Laowai86. I very much appreciate every single one of you that make all of this possible, that help me be able to be supported to get this information out there. I appreciate you guys so much, and I appreciate if you would consider joining my Patreon. Thank you very much.